and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and it's time for our Game Week 8 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, the video where we look at the transfer trends and try and figure out which are the good bandwagons to jump on and which ones are not. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you drop a like, really helps out the channel, and do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's have a look at how these videos work. Okay, so buys are players that you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing, but I think you should keep them. And avoids that are players that are pretty hyped up right now. A lot of people buying these players, but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. Let's have a look and see how we got on last game week. Okay, so for game week 7, obviously we didn't get 16 out of 16. I mean, that's just like basically impossible, but I feel like we did pretty well. 11 out of 16 right in the immediate term. Obviously, this is only a one game week sample, so I do really hope that the buys from last game week will be good for a little bit longer, at least some of them. And obviously the avoids maybe showing that maybe they shouldn't have been bought last game week. I feel like that was overall the kind of theme here. Got a few buys right. Trippier, Son, and Morris doing really well in game week 7. For the sells, they all blanked. Very, very good indeed. The keeps, all of them failed other than Alvarez, which is kind of interesting. But I have to say, on Chilwell, I hope I rectified that in my later videos during the week. At the time, we didn't have the information that that Chilwell was going to be injured. We thought he was going to be available, and I thought he was going to start in that game. And if he did, he would have got a clean sheet in that game as well for Chelsea against Fulham. So, yeah, overall, I'm a little bit disappointed by my shout on Chilwell, but hopefully I corrected it in later videos in the week, and a lot of you guys would have sold Chilwell and didn't keep him after all. And finally, our avoids. Yeah, the Spurs defenders / goalkeepers, of course, they did not do very well against Liverpool. That was to be expected. But Neto actually managed to grab a little assist against Man City. So we got 4 points. I'm still going to count that as an L for myself, though, because that is technically still a return, despite the fact it's not a huge amount of points. So overall, I think we did pretty well, and I'm looking forward to going again this week to seeing what we can do. Can we make some good predictions and, yeah, hopefully pick out some good players to buy and, yeah, players that we might be thinking about removing as well. So starting off with buys, goalkeepers are really difficult this week, really difficult, but I am going to lean towards Turner for our goalkeeper buy this week, and the reason is because he is so cheap, 4 million, that's a really good price for him, but I do like this Crystal Palace fixture more now than ever, because we have got the news today that Eze is actually going to be injured, and that's going to be added to Edouard, who's also injured. Eze and Edouard have been the two main goal threats for Crystal Palace this season, and it's a team, Crystal Palace, that already struggle for goals. So I do think Nottingham Forest have a good chance of getting a clean sheet here. And Nottingham Forest as well, I have to say, the defensive numbers are not actually so bad. They sit around mid-table in terms of how well they're doing defensively. And Turner is overperforming, still doing very well, keeping out more goals than is expected of him, which is very nice. So hopefully that good form in general over the past 5 game weeks is going to carry him through and continue to have him nailed on. We've got Luton after that as well. So I do feel like Turner, if you're looking for a cheap goalkeeper, might be the solution for the next couple of game weeks, and maybe you can rotate him with another player in some of the more difficult fixtures that he has. We've got Matty Cash for a defensive buy. I was very tempted to just throw in Trippier this week and throw in Trippier as the defensive buy every single game week. I mean, that would be pretty easy, wouldn't it? Just to say Trippier, buy him every week. But no, I thought we'd go for Cash this game week because I feel like this is the start of a really nice fixture run for Matty Cash. And I'm expecting hopefully a few more clean sheets than we've seen from Aston Villa so far. But also, I want to take advantage of these phenomenal attacking numbers. You know, you don't see these attacking numbers very often from a defender. 2.15 XG, 0.55 XA there as well. So he's a player who gets into the box, he takes shots, and he gets in those dangerous positions to get those mega hauls. And he's going to need some mega hauls in this great run of fixtures. He can definitely do that. I think against Wolves, West Ham, that's not exactly the strongest defense. Luton Town there as well. There's going to be opportunities here for some attacking returns for Cash, and I think he's going to add that to some clean sheets and provide prove to be a very useful FPL asset in defense at 4.9 million. Get on him fast before he turns into a 5 million, 5.1, 5.2, etc. For our midfielders, I am going to say Son again because I feel like there's just no doubt about this one. Like, he is so essential to me right now, and I know probably 70% of people don't have Son in their team right now. it's really, really important that we get him. He's going to be probably the most important captain for this game week. A lot of people are going to be captaining him against Luton Town. We've got Fulham after that as well, which is obviously a pretty nice fixture. But really, I'm looking at Son. I'm seeing we have confirmation now that he is going to continue as the central main striker. He's doing better and better in that role. And even when Richarlison comes into this Spurs team, Richarlison is now playing on the left and Son is still taking centre stage there. We are yet to see who's going to be the penalty taker for Spurs, but I think that could be Son as well. So looking at these numbers, they're phenomenal. Looking at his form, it's really, really good. There is no doubt in my mind that Son is going to have a monster game week this week, and I'm really, really looking forward to owning him and captaining him this week as well. So massive shout out to Son. Make sure he is your priority player to buy this game week. Without a doubt, he would be the priority for me if I didn't have him already. And we're going to put Watkins as the best forward to go for right now. Really nice returns against Brighton, though I do have to say, I know looking at the stats in front of you, it looks like Watkins has similar numbers to Son, but Son, you've got to remember, is a consistent overperformer. He is a career overperformer. He is just what is known as an elite finisher, and Watkins, in general, throughout his career, hasn't been quite at that level. So don't expect him to be overperforming in the way that he has all the way through the season. It's probably not going to happen. Like, he is a very good player. He's still a phenomenal pick, but look, he is probably the biggest overperformer of the Premier League so far, and therefore just be a little bit wary of that fact when you're picking him up. Like, don't sacrifice a good striker for him. If you have a decent striker already, I don't think you have to buy Watkins, but if you are in the market for a new forward, you just have no idea who to pick, you just hate the one you've got currently, then in that case, Watkins is definitely the player I would go for. Again, because of these phenomenal fixtures for a long time. We've got 6, 7, 8 game weeks of really nice fixtures for Watkins. And he's going to be the main man for the majority of that and do some really, really big damage. So alongside Diaby, alongside Cash, these 3 Aston Villa players are going to be really important for this run of fixtures. So go for Watkins if you need a new forward. If it's a midfielder you need instead, obviously Son, but Diaby is definitely a player I would consider going for as well. If you can't quite get to Watkins, but you want to have that cover in the Aston Villa attack. On to some sells now. Our first sell is going to be Andre Onana. Again, not a great result for him for Manchester United and the whole Manchester United team in general at the moment. Bit of a depressing time to be a Manchester United fan, I guess, but Onana is just not really cutting it at the moment, unfortunately, and there's even calls for him to be dropped from the Manchester United side, so it's not looking too good there. So even though we do have some nice fixtures in the likes of Sheffield United and Fulham in the upcoming weeks, I just don't trust Onana at all. He's a super popular goalkeeper, and at some point, you're just going to have to cut your losses on this bad boy. He's underperforming. He's letting in more goals than he should be. There is a lot of reason to maybe think about removing him. We've got Martinez as well for Manchester United in defence. He's going to be out for a very long time as well. So there's going to be more issues alongside the likes of Luke Shaw being injured. There's just a lot of problems in the Manchester United defensive areas at the moment and in the club in general. So I would be looking to sell Onana, if you don't have any other priority transfers to make in other areas of your pitch. So yeah, a player you can definitely remove. And Saliba, it's actually going to be another player I would consider selling. One of the most popular defenders right now is Saliba. He's got Manchester City next and some difficult fixtures after that. We've got the likes of Chelsea away, Newcastle away there as well. So you can definitely see why you might sell a defender from Arsenal, but really the reason is because Saliba is just not good value for money in FPL. Like, Arsenal are a very good defence, a really good defence, and I've been very impressed with them so far this season, but I want more. I want more than just clean sheets. I want bonus point potential. I want attacking returns. This is what we want for our defenders that are going to make the big difference in our FPL teams. And Saliba is just not really capable of kind of getting that. The only reason why Saliba is in so many people's FPL teams is because a lot of people switched Gabriel to Saliba at the start of the season. But now we're kind of realizing why Saliba is no better value for money than Gabriel. In fact, Gabriel is 4.7, 4.8 million, roughly around there. And I would say Gabriel is far better value for money because not only do you get exactly the same clean sheet potential, but you actually get attacking returns potential as well. You can see in front of you guys the numbers on screen. Saliba has taken just 1 shot and 1 key pass in the last 5 game weeks. That is nothing. That is really, really low. You know, you will struggle to find a defender in FPL that is like worse for attacking returns than Saliba, which is why we spoke about Saliba the whole preseason, saying he's not worth going for over Gabriel because, he just doesn't get attacking returns. And that's what we're seeing exactly right now. No attacking returns with no real promise. Plus the bad fixtures means that he's just poor value for money. Switch him to a Cash, switch him to a Trippier, switch him to a Dogi. Whoever you want to bring in as your new defender, I don't think it should be Saliba moving forward. Rashford is also going to be a sell just because, yeah, it's not looking good at Manchester United at the moment, is it? And 8.8 million is a lot of money to spend on a midfielder. On a player in general, we're trying to find new ways of getting the likes of Watkins and Salah and Trippier into our teams. And a great way of doing that is to free up some budget from your Manchester United midfielders. So a kind of tricky game against Brentford up next. I think that's going to be a fairly low-scoring game. So I would recommend probably selling Rashford. It's just not going to plan at the moment, even though he's got some good fixtures after that. Just not really feeling this one at all. I don't think Sheffield United really suits him as a fixture, and then we've got Manchester City after that as well. So Rashford is, yeah, it's just unfortunate, but I feel like we need to wait a little while before the Manchester United guys get back into form before we can start considering them again. The more time you spend having these assets, as I've learned myself, the longer you're going to suffer for, essentially. It's really just not look good. And we've got enough data, we've got enough information by this point to make an informed decision on that one. Also going to recommend selling Wissa. Brentford not really looked their selves recently either, have they? Although Wissa has, in fairness, been unlucky not to get more FPL returns, it still should be said that Brentford are just not looking too hot like they were in the first couple of game weeks. So in general, Wissa, with so many other great forward options to go for, he's a pretty easy sacrifice to make in your team. So yeah, I would probably be looking to sell him as well at the 6 million man. I'm going to cheat a little bit and put Turner in the keep section as well, just because I don't really know who else I would necessarily be desperate to keep in the goalkeeper position. Like, Edison would probably be the other one, but he plays against Arsenal. That's a tough fixture for him. So I guess if you have Turner, a lot of people are selling Turner right now. I wouldn't really recommend doing that. I feel like he's still good for a few more game weeks before you can consider like restructuring him with him out. Next 2 game weeks, I think look really, really nice for him. So would be looking to keep Turner, of course, if you already have him, and maybe even buy him if you don't. For the defender, Udogie, yeah, a lot of people selling Udogie because he has blanked for several game weeks in a row now, but we kind of knew that was going to happen, didn't we? Really. Udogie owners, you guys would have known that was going to happen. Like, Udogie, like I've said this last game week, the week before, he wasn't a good pick. He straight up was not a good player to bring into your team. And I say that as someone with Udogie in my team. I was never going to play him against Arsenal. I was never going to play him against Liverpool. It was pretty clear that those teams were going to score against a Spurs side that like to attack and kind of neglect their defense. So, yeah, no points from Udogie recently. But moving forward, there are positive signs that he could be able to get attacking returns and could be able to get clean sheets as well in these phenomenal fixtures in the next 3. Luton, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and even Chelsea are not exactly a free scoring team. I think this is a real opportunity for the likes of Spurs to start putting some more clean sheets on the board, and Udogie is going to have some decent attacking returns as well. Quick shout out to Pedro Porro. If you're looking for a new Spurs defender, he would probably be a direction I would consider going if you're happy to spend the extra 0.2 million. So yeah, decent to go for some Spurs defenders now, even though the last couple of game weeks it hasn't really been. I would also say to keep Saka despite his terrible, terrible fixtures, now that we know he is fully fit, fully available to play in future game weeks. Look at this, guys. 3 goals, 3 assists in his last 5 game weeks. This is a man who gave away 2 penalties to teammates and still has some of, if not the best attacking numbers in the entire Premier League right now. Sometimes you just have to look at form over fixtures. It's great when you have both, but when we have an attacker in this good form, you just don't want to sell them at all. And, you know, if you're selling him for Man City and Chelsea, you might actually find yourself without him for Sheffield United. But if we look at these games and we say, okay, I think Arsenal, you know, they're a good team. They're obviously capable of scoring against City. They're capable of scoring against Chelsea. If they do, who's it going to be? Who's going to be the guy getting the goal, getting the assist? Well, it's probably going to be Saka, right? He's the man in form. So, yeah, I would definitely really think about keeping Saka. Would I buy him? Not necessarily, but yes, I would keep him. And for those of you guys looking to buy Son in your team, I would say that I would, you know, if you put, you know, if this was literally your only option to get Son was to sell Saka, then okay, fair enough. Maybe I would do it. But in general, I would try really, really hard to not sell Saka in order to get Son into your team. I'll try your best. Like, pick pretty much anyone else other than Saka to sell to get Son. Like, seriously. But look, it's kind of going to be up to you guys. But I do think Saka is going to be a keep even in these difficult fixtures if you still have him. And I'm going to put Darwin here as the other keep as well. A lot of people looking to move him on after his 0-pointer in Game Week 7. Totally understand that. If you don't know the context, then that's going to be you know, a player that looks like is worth selling. But here is the context. So basically, Darwin picked up an injury over the international break. It wasn't really reported. It meant that he couldn't start the game immediately after the break, and it was still aggravating him a little bit for game week 7 as well, which meant that he was only going to make a sub appearance. With the red cards that happened for the Liverpool team, Darwin was unable to make a sub appearance too, but Darwin is expected to be back and fit and available for next game week, and he has to be as well, because we also have a situation where Jota is suspended, and we've got also who's the other guy? Gakpo. Sorry, Liverpool fans. Gakpo is injured as well. So Darwin is pretty much nailed to start against a Brighton team who have just conceded a boatload of goals, are kind of, looking a little bit worrisome defensively. This is a fixture that very much suits a player like Darwin. It's a fixture that suits a team like Liverpool. And it's also a game where Liverpool, after last game week, are going to be desperate to get a huge result and make a big statement to get back into form in the Premier League. So, yeah, I think this could actually be a really nice game week for Darwin. I think he could even outscore the likes of Watkins and Alvarez, these players that we're probably talking about a bit more in the forward position. I think Darwin could actually do better than those in this Brighton fixture, and I just think we should really, really appreciate that the fact that we got those injuries and suspensions at Liverpool is guaranteeing, I say that loosely, guaranteeing a Darwin start, because we know when Darwin gets minutes, he gets returns. Look at the numbers on screen, guys. These numbers were recorded in 190 minutes of football. 2.72 XG, 0.34 assists there as well. 8 big chances. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in 190 minutes worth of football. That's pretty much just over 2 games. So imagine Darwin in a full game of football. You're maybe going to see him get 2 returns in that time, based on what we've seen already for him and how effective he has been when he has been playing. It's a shame about the injury from the last couple of game weeks, but he's going to be back now, and he's going to get some FPL returns. Fingers crossed. So yeah, keep Darwin if you have him. I think that he could be a really dangerous weapon to go into this next run of fixtures. A seriously dangerous weapon, and probably the second best Liverpool player after Mo Salah. Finally, let's avoid Areola. About to play Newcastle. It's a difficult fixture, and in general, West Ham have been pretty poor defensively. Anyway, Areola, in fairness to him, is making plenty of saves, but I feel like Newcastle just have too much firepower to for West Ham to keep a clean sheet there. So not really expecting too much from the West Ham defence in this difficult fixture. Aston Villa after that is not exactly the easiest fixture either. So even if you were to buy Areola, you're probably going to bench him for the next 2 game weeks anyway, so does it seem worth it? Maybe not, unless you're on a wild card, of course, in which case, yeah, fine. Wild card, brilliant, pick him. But yeah, if you're not on a wild card, probably would leave Areola right now. And Ben White is definitely going to be an avoid for me. I think I mentioned this on yesterday's video, but I did say that in the first 5 game weeks of the season, it took Ben White 5 game weeks to generate his first 0.01 XG. It's just not his role in the team to score goals and get an assist. And yes, fair enough, he got a very rare goal in last game week, but that's not good enough for me. 5.5 million is very, very expensive for a defender, and he plays against Manchester City next. For a player who has got a really tough fixture, is pretty expensive, and is not known for regularly getting attacking returns, is it worth going for him? I'm not sure he's good value for money, if I'm honest, guys. And for that reason, I have to say he is an avoid. But in fairness, maybe he's slightly better value for money than Saliba. But if you don't have, Ben White already, you could maybe keep him if you had him already. But in terms of whether you would buy him, no way would I be buying him. There's too many other better defensive options right now that you can actually get for a cheaper price as well. Another Arsenal avoid, it's going to be Ødegaard. Yeah, like I kind of mentioned with Saka, if you don't have Arsenal players already, I probably wouldn't be looking to bring them in. There might be more like don't buy, don't sell kind of players in general. So yeah, Ødegaard is going to fit in that category. Don't buy, don't sell. But because he's don't buy, that means he's an avoid for this game week. Yeah. Man City, super, super tough fixture, as we all very well know. And yeah, we have seen big overperformances for Ødegaard so far. He's obviously a very quality player, and he will overperform generally throughout the season. But I just feel like this is not the time to take a chance with Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle on the horizon as well. If you don't already have Ødegaard, I wouldn't be looking to bring him in this week. I would perhaps be looking elsewhere, be looking at Spurs, the likes of Son, the likes of Maddison, and, Diaby at Aston Villa. Those are kind of the 3 midfielders I would go for way ahead of a player like Ødegaard. I'd go for Saka ahead of Ødegaard as well, to be fair. There's plenty of options, and Ødegaard would probably not be one of them for me personally, especially considering how popular he is as a transfer in right now. Not really feeling this one. I'm also going to put Morris in here. A lot of people trying to chase points with Morris a little bit. The time to buy Morris was last game week. If you have Morris now, you're probably more likely to sell him than buy him, but still a lot of people are trying to kind of catch up on the Morris returns. But yeah, when his double game week is gone, I feel like he is going to struggle a little bit more for FPL returns. We've got some okay fixtures in here, I guess, but in general, they're not amazing or anything like that. So even though he is a nice cheap price, just would not be looking to go for him right now. So avoid Morris as well if you don't already have him. And even if you do have him, maybe you even consider selling him. If you can get Morris to a Watkins or an Alvarez or, you know, even a Darwin Nunez, then I would perhaps make that transfer and actually remove him from your teams. So just in summary, guys, remember we do have midweek games, so there might be the odd injury or new bit of news that might come out over the next couple of days. So be aware of that one, and everything is susceptible to change between now and the FPL deadline. But at the same time, it's an exciting time because there's a lot of new FPL assets that are emerging looking really, really good. My priority transfers in would be Spurs and Aston Villa players. So try and focus on those, in my opinion. And obviously, there's a lot of players we can sell who aren't performing. The likes of Chelsea and Manchester United players are pretty easy sells right now. So maybe that's going to help you, maybe it isn't. I hope it does though. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. If you enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like to let me know. Do subscribe if you're new around here. If you've got any other FPL questions, make sure you leave them in the comments and I will get to that and try and answer some. You can still subscribe to Fantasy Football Hub with the link in the description and get your free trial now for 7 days. You get the full access for absolutely for free, so do that. And aside from that, check out this video. Why not? It's a good one, probably, depending on what it is. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.